Earth spun quietly in space. For many years, people wondered if aliens existed. Today, they would find out. Sarah Miller was a smart 12-year-old girl. She had red curly hair and loved space. Her parents gave her a small spaceship called Starhopper because she did well in school. Sarah begged to fly alone around the moon. She promised to stay close to Earth's space stations. Sarah didn't know her fun trip would change everything. As Sarah flew around the far side of the moon, she saw something strange on her radar. A big object was coming near Earth. Sarah got very excited. Could it be aliens? She thought. On the alien ship called Vornik, Captain Zexlor looked at a map of the new star system they found. "We haven't been here before," Zexlor said. He had 4 eyes that blinked one after another. "Check if there's any smart life here." The ship's computer answered, "Done checking. Found simple life on the 3rd planet. They can't travel fast in space. They're not dangerous." Zexlor laughed a bit. He thought it was just another weak world to add to their empire. He was about to leave when an alarm went off. "Captain, a small ship is coming from the planet's moon," someone yelled. Sarah, feeling very curious, had flown Starhopper towards the alien ship. She thought it looked cool, very different from Earth's ships. She tried to talk to the aliens. "Hello, can you hear me? I'm Sarah. I come in peace," she said, remembering words from her favorite space movies. On the Vornik, everyone panicked. The aliens always thought others might attack them. They saw Sarah's ship and got scared. "It's trying to talk to us, Captain," an alien crew member shouted. Zexlor got surprised. He made a quick choice that he would always regret. "Destroy it," he ordered. "We can't let anyone know we're here." Sarah saw a bright light coming from the alien ship. "Wow," she said softly. "It's so pretty." Those were the last words she ever said. The Vornik shot a powerful beam at Starhopper. In a second, Sarah and her ship were gone. Alarms rang on Earth's space stations. They saw everything happen. People all over the world watched in horror as they showed Sarah's death on TV. In the White House, the President of the United States looked at the screen, very shocked. "Call all world leaders. Right now," she said. All around the world, people reacted. In Tokyo, crowds stood quietly, surprised. In London, angry people asked the government to do something. In Sarah's hometown in Alabama, her parents cried, and neighbors didn't know what to say to help. As night came, the alien ship stayed near Earth. It scared everyone. People's dreams of meeting friendly aliens were broken. But in secret places around the world, hidden machines started to turn on. The Galactic Empire didn't know what they had done. They thought they had stopped a small danger, but they had made Earth very, very angry. Earth was going to fight back. They would do it for Sarah. In deep underground bases, General Michael Chen walked quickly through long hallways. Lights turned on as he passed. He entered a big room filled with screens and maps. "Status report," he said firmly. A young officer stood up. "Sir, all 700,000 dreadnoughts are ready. We've kept them hidden for 100 years, waiting for this day." General Chen nodded. He looked at a picture of Earth on the main screen. "They killed an innocent child. Now they'll see what humans can do." He turned to his team. "Send the message to all bases. Operation Stardust begins now." All over the world, in oceans, deserts, and mountains, huge doors started to open. From each one, a massive warship rose. They were bigger and more powerful than anything the Galactic Empire had ever seen. Earth was ready for war, and the stars would never be the same again. The news of Sarah's death spread fast. Within hours, everyone on Earth knew. People everywhere were sad and angry. In New York, big screens in Times Square showed Sarah's picture. People stood in the streets, many crying. Some held up signs that said, "Remember Sarah and protect Earth." World leaders met in an emergency meeting. They gathered in a big room with flags from every country. The mood was tense. "We must respond," said the U.S. President, her voice shaking. "But how? We've never faced an enemy like this." The Chinese premier stood up. "We have a secret to share," he said. Everyone looked surprised. "We're not as helpless as the aliens think." Meanwhile, in space, the alien ship Vornik was still there. Captain Zexlor felt uneasy. He thought destroying the small ship was right, but now he wasn't sure. "Captain," said his second-in-command, "the planet is very active. They seem upset." Zexlor waved his tentacles. "They're primitives. What can they do?" Back on Earth, in Sarah's hometown, things were quiet. Her school friends left flowers at her house. Her parents, Tom and Lisa Miller, sat in their living room, surrounded by neighbors. "She just wanted to explore," Tom said softly, holding a picture of Sarah. Lisa couldn't speak. She just cried. Outside, a crowd gathered. They held candles and sang songs. Sarah had become a symbol for all of Earth. In secret military bases, things were very busy. Soldiers ran around, getting ready. Computers beeped as they woke up old systems. General Chen stood in the main control room. He looked at a big map of Earth. Small lights blinked all over it. "Status report," he ordered. A young officer saluted. "Sir, all 700,000 dreadnoughts are powering up. Crews are boarding now." Chen nodded. "Good. And the new weapons?" "The gravity guns are ready, sir. The aliens won't know what hit them." In orbit, on the International Space Station, astronauts watched the alien ship carefully. They sent every bit of information to Earth. "It's just sitting there," said one astronaut, "like it's waiting for something." On the ground, scientists worked fast. They studied every picture and scan of the alien ship. "Look at this," said Dr. Emma Cho, pointing at a screen. "Their ship's energy readings are off the charts, but there's a pattern." Her colleague, Dr. Raj Patel, leaned in. "You're right. If we can disrupt that pattern, we might have a chance," Emma finished. In capitals around the world, protests grew larger. People demanded action. They wanted Earth to fight back. In London, a huge crowd gathered outside Parliament. They chanted, "Defend Earth. Remember Sarah." Inside, the Prime Minister addressed the nation. "We will not stand idle," she said firmly. "Earth will respond." Similar scenes played out in Moscow, Beijing, and Delhi. The whole world was united in anger and determination. Deep underground, in a room few knew existed, the world's top leaders met again. This time, they weren't just talking. "It's time," said the U.S. President. She looked at each person in the room. "We reveal our strength and strike back." The others nodded. The Russian president spoke next. "Our people are ready. The dreadnoughts are crewed and armed." "What about civilian safety?" asked the Indian Prime Minister. General Chen stepped forward. "We have plans to protect our cities, but we must act fast." As they talked, the first dreadnoughts began to rise. In the Sahara Desert, huge doors opened in the sand. In the Pacific Ocean, massive ships broke through the waves. From the snowy peaks of the Himalayas, more ships appeared. Earth was waking up, and it was angry. On the Vornik, alarms started to blare. Zexlor rushed to the bridge. "What's happening?" he shouted. His crew looked panicked. "Captain, we're detecting multiple large objects launching from the planet's surface." Zexlor's 4 eyes widened in shock. He realized, too late, that he had made a terrible mistake. Earth was no longer hiding. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The world watched in awe as Earth's secret was revealed. From oceans, deserts, and mountains, huge ships rose into the sky. These were Earth's hidden dreadnoughts, kept secret for 100 years. In New York, people pointed at the sky. "Look!" a little boy shouted. Above the city, a massive ship appeared. It was bigger than any building they had ever seen. Similar scenes played out all over the world. In Tokyo, people saw ships rising from the sea. In Cairo, They came out of the desert sand. Everywhere, humans were amazed and proud. On TV, a reporter tried to stay calm. "We're seeing unprecedented events," she said, her voice shaking. "Earth had a secret fleet, and it's huge." Inside one of the Dreadnoughts, Captain Maria Rodriguez looked at her crew. They were nervous but ready. "This is what we trained for," she said. "Today, we defend Earth." Her words were echoed in 699,999 other ships. Each dreadnought was a city in space, filled with brave men and women. Meanwhile, in a secret base under the Rocky Mountains, General Chen briefed world leaders. "Our fleet is the largest ever built," he said, pointing to a big screen. "Each ship has weapons the aliens have never seen." The U.S. president looked worried. How did we keep this secret for so long? An old scientist stepped forward. His name was Dr. Alan Wong. "It wasn't easy," he said. "We worked in secret for generations. Every nation helped." Dr. Wong showed them a strange-looking gun. "This is our best weapon. It can change gravity itself." Everyone looked amazed. They had no idea humans could make such things. In space, the alien ship Vornik was in chaos. Captain Zexlor couldn't believe his eyes. "Impossible," he shouted. "How can primitives have such a fleet?" His crew worked fast, sending messages to the Empire. "We need help," they said. "Earth is not what we thought." Back on Earth, in Sarah's hometown, her parents watched the sky fill with ships. "Sarah would have loved this," Tom Miller said softly. His wife nodded, tears in her eyes. The whole town had gathered outside. People cheered as the dreadnoughts flew overhead. Sarah's death had united them all. In London, the Prime Minister made a speech. "For a century, we prepared," she said. "Every nation worked together. Now, we stand ready." People all over the world listened. They felt proud and strong. Earth was no longer hiding. On the International Space Station, astronauts got ready to leave. They had a special job. "We'll guide the fleet," said Commander Lee. "We know space better than anyone." As the astronauts boarded a dreadnought, they took a last look at Earth. It was beautiful and worth fighting for. Deep in the Atlantic Ocean, more ships appeared. They were different, built to carry millions of people. "Evacuation ships," General Chen explained to the leaders. "Just in case. We hope we won't need them." The leaders nodded. They had thought of everything. In orbit, Earth's fleet gathered. It was an amazing sight. Thousands of giant ships, all shining in the sunlight. Captain Rodriguez looked at the view screen. She could see the alien ship. It looked small now. "This is for Sarah," she said quietly. Her crew nodded. They all knew the story. On Earth, final preparations were made. Cities set up defenses. People stocked up on food and water. Everyone hoped for the best, but prepared for the worst. In a lab in Geneva, scientists worked on understanding alien technology. They had learned a lot just by watching the Vornik. "If we can crack their communications," said Dr. Emma Cho, "we'll have a big advantage." Her team worked day and night. They knew every bit of information could help. As the last dreadnought took its place in orbit, a message was sent to every ship and every home on Earth. "People of Earth," it began, "the time has come. We face an unknown enemy, but we face it together. For Sarah, for Earth, for humanity." With these words, Earth's fleet began to move. They had trained for this moment for 100 years. Now, it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The time had come. Earth was ready to face the Galactic Empire. In every home, on every screen, people waited for the announcement. The United Nations building in New York was surrounded by crowds. Inside, leaders from all countries sat together. It was time to tell the galaxy. Earth would not be pushed around. The Secretary General stood up. Cameras focused on her face. She looked serious but strong. "People of Earth, and any in the galaxy who can hear us," she began. "Today we speak as one world, one people." In space, Earth's massive fleet moved into position. Captain Maria Rodriguez watched from her ship's bridge. She thought of Sarah, the little girl who died. "This is for you," she whispered. The Secretary General continued. "A great injustice has been done to us. An innocent child was killed. We now know we are not alone in the universe. But our first meeting with aliens brought only death." On the alien ship Vornik, Captain Zexlor listened in shock. He never expected this small planet to have such power. "We must warn the Empire," he shouted to his crew. Back on Earth, the speech went on. "To the Galactic Empire, we say this. Your actions have awakened a sleeping giant. We kept our strength hidden, hoping for peace. But you chose violence." In London, Paris, and Tokyo, people cheered in the streets. They waved flags and hugged each other. Humanity was united like never before. The Secretary General's voice grew stronger. "Therefore, we, the people of Earth, declare war on the Galactic Empire. We fight not just for vengeance, but for our right to exist in this universe." In orbit, the astronauts on the International Space Station watched Earth's fleet. "It's beautiful," said Commander Lee. "I never thought I'd see anything like this." The speech reached its final words. "To any peaceful aliens out there, we say, we come in peace, but we will defend ourselves. To the Empire, we say, prepare for the fury of Earth." As soon as the speech ended, things started happening fast. General Chen, in his underground command center, gave the order. "All ships, begin Operation Stardust." Thousands of dreadnoughts lit up their engines. The sky above Earth glowed with their power. It was a sight no one would ever forget. Captain Rodriguez spoke to her crew. "This is it, people. Everything we trained for. Let's show the Empire what humans can do." Her words were echoed across the fleet. Pilots, gunners, and engineers all got ready. They were nervous but determined. On Vornek, Zexlor tried to send messages to the Empire, but something was wrong. "Our communications are being jammed," he yelled. Dr. Emma Cho, in her lab on Earth, smiled. "Got them," she said to her team. They had cracked the alien communication codes. In cities around the world, people gathered in shelters. They hoped the alien ship wouldn't attack Earth, but they were ready if it did. Sarah's parents, Tom and Lisa Miller, sat in their living room. They held hands and watched the fleet on TV. "Our little girl changed the world," Tom said softly. The first part of Earth's plan was working. The Vornik couldn't call for help. Now it was time for the next step. General Chen looked at his display. "Send in the first wave," he ordered. A group of smaller, faster ships moved towards the Vornik. Captain Rodriguez watched from her dreadnought. "Be careful," she said, even though the pilots couldn't hear her. The small Earth ships zoomed around the Vornik. They were testing its defenses, looking for weak spots. Zexlor and his crew fired at them, but the Earth ships were too quick. Back on Earth, military bases were busy. More ships were getting ready to join the fight. Scientists worked on new weapons. Everyone had a job to do. In space, the battle was just beginning. Earth's fleet moved closer to the Vornik. The alien ship looked small compared to the massive dreadnoughts. Captain Rodriguez took a deep breath. "All ships, prepare main weapons," she said. "Target the Vornik. Let's show them what happens when you mess with Earth." The dreadnoughts' huge guns started to glow. They were using the new gravity weapons Dr. Wong had invented. The Vornik had never seen anything like it. As the weapons charged up, Captain Rodriguez thought again of Sarah. She imagined the little girl smiling down at them from the stars. "Fire!" shouted General Chen from Earth. And with that command, Earth launched its first attack against the Galactic Empire. The war had begun. The sky lit up with 1,000 suns. Earth's fleet had fired their first shot against the Galactic Empire. The war had begun. Captain Maria Rodriguez watched from her ship, the Avenger. Her heart raced as the gravity beams sped towards the alien ship Vornik. "Direct hit," shouted her weapons officer. The crew cheered. On the Vornik, Captain Zexlor stumbled as his ship shook. Alarms blared everywhere. "What was that?" he yelled. His science officer looked scared. "Unknown weapon, sir. It's changing our gravity." Back on Earth, in the underground command center, General Chen watched the battle on a big screen. He smiled grimly. "The gravity guns work," he said to his team. "Now let's see what else we can do." All around the world, people watched the battle on TV. In New York, crowds in Times Square cheered each hit. In Tokyo, families huddled together, hoping for good news. Sarah's parents, Tom and Lisa Miller, sat quietly in their living room. "I hope this brings peace," Lisa said softly. Tom nodded, holding her hand. In space, the battle raged on. Earth's smaller ships zipped around the Vornik, firing quick shots. The alien ship tried to fight back, but Earth's fleet was too many and too fast. Captain Rodriguez spoke to her crew. "Remember your training," she said calmly. "We've prepared for this day. Let's make Earth proud." On the Vornik, things were getting bad. Captain Zexlor shouted orders, but nothing seemed to work. Their weapons couldn't lock onto the fast Earth ships. And the big human ships, the Dreadnoughts, were just too strong. "We need to retreat," Zexlor finally said. But when they tried to jump to light speed, nothing happened. In her lab on Earth, Dr. Emma Cho grinned. "The gravity disruptors are working," she told her team. "They can't escape." General Chen's voice came over the comm. "All ships, move in. Disable the Vornik, but don't destroy it. We want prisoners." Captain Rodriguez nodded. "You heard the general," she told her crew. "Let's bring them in." The Earth fleet moved like a well-oiled machine. Thousands of ships, all working together. It was a sight the galaxy had never seen before. On the ground, in cities around the world, people started to celebrate. The news was good. Earth was winning its first space battle. In London, crowds sang in the streets. In Rio de Janeiro, people danced on the beach. Everyone felt proud and strong. But in the UN building, leaders watched carefully. "This is just the start," said Secretary General Amara Okafor. "The Empire will send more ships." Back in space, the Vornik was in trouble. Its engines were dead, weapons offline. Captain Zexlor looked at his scared crew. We surrender," he said quietly. Captain Rodriguez heard the message and smiled. "General Chen, the Vornik is ours. Sending boarding teams now." As Earth soldiers entered the alien ship, people all over the world held their breath. This was humanity's first close look at alien technology. Dr. Cho and her team got ready. "We'll learn so much from their ship," she said excitedly. "This could change everything." In the command center, General Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Phase 1 complete," he said. "But now we prepare for the Empire's response." The captured Vornik was brought into Earth orbit. It looked small next to the massive human dreadnoughts. News cameras zoomed in, showing the alien ship to the world. Captain Rodriguez watched from her bridge. "One battle won," she said to herself. "But the war is just beginning." In their home, Sarah's parents looked at the image of the captured ship. "Sarah would have been amazed," Tom said. Lisa nodded, tears in her eyes. All over Earth, people celebrated but also prepared. They knew more alien ships would come. But now, the galaxy knew that humans were a force to be reckoned with. In secret bases, scientists studied the alien technology. In factories, workers built more ships and weapons. Everyone did their part. As night fell across the planet, Earth's fleet stood guard in space. Millions of stars twinkled in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Empire was learning about their defeat. Captain Rodriguez looked out at the stars from her ship. "We're coming," she whispered. "For Sarah, for Earth, for our future. The galaxy will remember this day." And so, as Earth celebrated its first victory, It also braced for the battles to come. The War of the Worlds had only just begun. 3 days had passed since Earth's big win. People were still happy, but they knew more trouble was coming. In the UN building, world leaders met again. General Chen stood before them, looking serious. "The Empire knows about us now," he said. "They will send more ships, many more." Secretary General Amara Okafor nodded. "How long do we have?" Chen looked at his tablet. "Maybe a week, maybe less." Across the room, Dr. Emma Cho raised her hand. "We've learned a lot from the alien ship," she said. "Their tech is amazing, but we can fight it." Meanwhile, in space, Captain Maria Rodriguez and her crew watched for any sign of the Empire. Her ship, the Avenger, led a group of 1,000 dreadnoughts. Suddenly, alarms went off. Rodriguez ran to the main screen. "What is it?" she asked. Her science officer looked scared. "Many ships coming. Thousands of them." On Earth, in Times Square, people looked up at the big screens. The news was bad. The Empire was here. In their small town, Sarah's parents hugged each other. "I'm scared, Tom," Lisa said. Tom held her tight. "Earth beat them once. We can do it again." Back in space, Rodriguez saw the Empire's fleet appear. It was huge, with ships of all sizes. In the middle was a massive ship, bigger than a city. That must be their leader, Rodriguez thought. On that big ship, Admiral Xan of the Galactic Empire looked at Earth. He was angry. "These humans dare to challenge us," he growled. "We will crush them." The battle began. Thousands of ships on both sides started to fight. Lasers and gravity beams lit up space like fireworks. On Earth, everyone watched and waited. In London, people prayed in churches. In Beijing, crowds stood silent in the streets. General Chen worked fast in his command center. "Send in the second wave," he ordered. More Earth ships joined the fight. Dr. Cho and her team worked nonstop. "We need to find a way to stop their big ship," she said. The battle was fierce. Earth's ships fought bravely, but the Empire had so many ships. Captain Rodriguez saw some of her friends' ships explode. She felt sad but kept fighting. "For Earth," she yelled, firing at an Empire ship. Admiral Xan was surprised. These humans were stronger than he thought. "Use the planet destroyer," he commanded. A huge cannon on Xan's ship started to glow. It was pointing at Earth. Rodriguez saw it and felt scared. "They're going to attack the planet," she shouted into her comm. On Earth, Chen got the message. He had to think fast. "Dr. Cho," he called. "We need that secret weapon now." Emma and her team rushed to finish their work. They had made a new kind of shield using alien tech. "It's ready," Emma shouted. "But we're not sure it will work." Chen didn't hesitate. "Do it," he ordered. Just as the Empire fired its big weapon at Earth, Emma turned on the shield. A blue light covered the whole planet. Everyone held their breath. Would it work? The Empire's beam hit the shield. There was a bright flash. For a moment, no one could see anything. When the light faded, Earth was still there. The shield had worked. People all over the world cheered. They were safe. In space, Rodriguez smiled. "Good job, Earth," she said. Then she turned to her crew. "Now let's finish this." The Earth fleet attacked with new energy. They had hope now. Admiral Xan couldn't believe it. "Impossible," he shouted, but he knew he was in trouble. As the battle raged on, it was clear that Earth had a chance. They were not just fighting for their planet, but for Sarah and for their right to be part of the galaxy. Rodriguez looked at a picture of her family in her ship. "We will win," she promised. "For all of us." The greatest space battle in Earth's history continued. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, but Earth was not giving up. They would fight to the very end. The battle had been going on for days. Earth's ships and the Empire's fleet fought hard in space. Both sides were tired, but neither would give up. Captain Maria Rodriguez looked at her screen. Her ship, the Avenger, had been fighting nonstop. "We can't keep this up much longer," she thought. On Earth, General Chen watched the battle from his command center. He turned to Dr. Emma Cho. "Any more tricks up your sleeve, Doctor?" Emma smiled. "Just one," she said, "but it's risky." Meanwhile, on the Empire's big ship, Admiral Xan was angry. These humans were tougher than he thought. "Prepare the final attack," he shouted. Back on the Avenger, Rodriguez got a message from Earth. It was from Dr. Cho. "Captain, we have a plan," Emma's voice said. "But we need you to get close to the Empire's main ship." Rodriguez took a deep breath. "It's dangerous, but we'll do it," she replied. She turned to her crew. "This is it, everyone. One last push. For Earth." The Avenger and a group of Earth ships flew towards Admiral Xan's huge ship. Empire fighters tried to stop them, but Earth's ships were too quick. On Earth, people watched on their TVs and phones. In New York, Tokyo, and every city, crowds held their breath. This was the final battle. Sarah's parents, Tom and Lisa Miller, held hands as they watched. "Our little girl started all this," Tom said softly. Lisa nodded, tears in her eyes. In space, Rodriguez's ships got closer to Xan's big ship. "Now what?" she asked Earth. "Activate the device we sent you," Dr. Cho replied. Rodriguez pressed a button. A small device on her ship started to glow. Suddenly, all the Empire's ships stopped moving. Their lights went out. They were powerless. On his ship, Admiral Xan was shocked. "What's happening?" he yelled, but none of his crew could answer. Dr. Cho's voice came over the radio to all Earth ships. "It worked. The device shuts down their technology. But it won't last long. Finish this now." Rodriguez didn't waste a second. "All ships, attack the main vessel," she ordered. Earth's fleet fired everything they had at Xan's ship. The huge vessel broke apart in a massive explosion. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then, cheers erupted from every Earth ship. On the planet, people started celebrating. In London, Paris, and Beijing, fireworks lit up the sky. Earth had won. Admiral Xan and the remains of the Empire fleet surrendered. The war was over. In the days that followed, Earth became the center of a new galactic community. Other alien races, who had been afraid of the Empire, came to meet the humans who defeated it. The UN building was busy with aliens from all over the galaxy. Secretary General Amara Okafor welcomed them all. "We have much to learn from each other," she said. Dr. Cho and her team worked with alien scientists. Together, they made amazing discoveries that helped everyone. Captain Rodriguez became a hero. She visited schools to tell children about space and meeting aliens. Kids everywhere wanted to be like her. General Chen retired, happy that Earth was safe. He spent his days fishing and telling stories about the great space battle. But the biggest change was for all the people of Earth. They now knew they weren't alone in the universe, and they had proven that humans could do amazing things when they worked together. 1 year after the war, a new statue was put up in front of the UN building. It showed a little girl looking up at the stars. The plaque read, "In memory of Sarah Miller, whose spirit led humanity to the stars." Sarah's parents stood in front of the statue, crying happy tears. "She would have loved this," Lisa said. Tom nodded. "She changed the whole galaxy," he said proudly. As night fell, people all over Earth looked up at the sky. The stars didn't seem so far away anymore. Humans were now part of a bigger, more exciting universe. And somewhere out there, new adventures were waiting.